Good afternoon, everybody present here. Welcome to Mission 10 Million podcast series.
I'm Rag and my friend Sai. We both are second year chemical engineering students who are the part of Mission 10 Million team. At Mission 10 Million, we aspire to influence the campus to corporate journey of 10 million students. We want that journey to be different, better, and more fulfilling.
Our mentor and founder of M10M, Mr. Puravat, doesn't want students to commit the same mistakes as many students in the corporate world committed in the transition from the campus to corporate. He has been in the corporate journey for more than 15 years now and has worked across sales, strategy, and currently driving Industry 4.0 at Siemens Energy.
Since January 2019, we have touched more than 22,000 college students across the country. At Mission 10 Million, we recommend students to be different and not to follow the crowd, network for growth, and set challenging tools and target for themselves.
So now I hope after this pleasant introduction, I would like to invite our mentor Pura sir for the podcast and take charge for the next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rag and Sai, for a wonderful introduction. And today we have a wonderful guest with us on the podcast. He is Mr. Vikas Dua, an HR expert with more than 15 years of experience in the corporate world. And now he is an entrepreneur. He has started his own venture called Attain, which is a disruptive platform to bring together the knowledge seekers and the knowledge experts. They want to democratize knowledge sharing in the academic space. He has worked across many multinational companies like Concentrix and Wipro. He is a TEDx speaker and an advisor at the BRICS CCI. What he says about himself: he is helping students and young professionals to turbocharge their career. You can find more about him at his website vikasdua.in, and you can also start looking at his work on LinkedIn. He has been writing many interesting blogs. He has been part of various conferences, and through his venture Attain, they are working for campuses as well as for the corporates. They want to help the students in the knowledge enhancement across domains, also support the faculties for the new age tech based recruitment. For the corporates, he helps young professionals and the teams of the corporates to re-engineer their HR processes and the recruitment methods. And today we have him to talk about the future of recruitment in the new normal. Where do we see the recruitment wave to be going towards? So with this, allow me to welcome Mr. Vikas Dua.
Hi, good afternoon, Pura. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here on the platform. It's lovely to know about the great work that Mission 10 Million is doing, and it's it's a great honor for me to be part of this conversation today. So, thanks for having me. Pura, when you reached out and you talked about the mission that you have set out to achieve, it immediately struck me as something that is known as in the training circle or is in the strategic circle as a bhag goal, BHAG, which is a big, hairy, audacious goal. And clearly, I think you have not kept any of the punches reserved. You want to go all out. You want to impact more than millions of people and students specifically, which is a very noble mission. In fact, to a large extent, it kind of resonated with me and what I'm trying to do at Attain. Like you rightly said, it's about working with students and the academic space to try and bring them some real life flavor from industry so that they're better prepared for the workplace when they enter it. And that's the reason I think there was definitely connect and wavelength matching, which encouraged me to say yes right away to this conversation, which I'm sure will be extremely interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for having me once again.
Thank you, Vikas. I mean, there are very few people who are very easily accessible and approachable, and you are one of them. So
Thank
it's
you so
it's a
much.
pleasure of us also having such experienced people and who are actually working for the kind of a similar cause. And as you rightly said, we resonate,
Correct.
and that is why I am very happy, and I'm sure you will be adding more value to the audience as well as to Mission 10 million. So I do not see our interaction limited to this particular podcast, but I look forward to it for a long journey along with you.
Of course.
And
And in fact, I probably haven't shared this with you, Purab, but the very fact that you've written an amazing book, Campus to Corporate, is something that was also part of my dream at some point. Unfortunately, with the pressures of the corporate life, one never got down to it. But I'm really, really glad that someone like you has actually taken that step and managed to put something out there, which I'm sure will be a big help to students. So, a
true,
personal
true,
note of
Vikas.
congratulations for that.
Thank you so much, Vikas. And I mean, that is something, as you rightly mentioned, the corporate pressures are at times not allowing us to realize what our passion is, and what we actually want to do. And
Correct.
even today, if I ask you about the current situation, most of the students that I talk to are more worried about the uncertainties of the job opportunities, and most of them I see they are having a fear. I mean, it's our mindset that if there are no campus interviews, will we get a job? So what is your opinion on this?
So, Purav, great question. I think it's important to be realistic at this point. I will, from my experience, share that I have never seen a period or a time like this. And the closest I can map 2022 is possibly 2008. I'm sure you were also possibly in the corporate space at that point, maybe just in the early years of your career. But
Yes.
there was challenges, right? You would remember business pressures, and there were layoffs for the first time in the Indian context. We heard of that term, and it kind of unsettled everyone. And today, to be very, very real and upfront, I think it is a much more graver situation. And as far as the recovery is concerned, honestly, one doesn't have a crystal ball, so I will not be able to project anything. But I do feel that the early indicators are giving some sign of hope. If you read the business dailies and you talk to people in the ecosystem, I think the tier 1 and tier 2 institutes will probably kind of slide through and manage to overcome this big impact. It is the tier 3, tier 4 institutes and students that I'm kind of concerned about, because in all fairness, companies have now started thinking about their campus recruitment plans while being on the fence till at least a couple of months ago. As they are deciding and taking the time to decide, they're kind of narrowing down on the institutes that they want to visit. They're kind of narrowing down on the roles. They're fine tuning the kind of profile they want, and that's where I think it will become very challenging for many students to kind of crack a campus placement easily. I will not say that they will not manage to crack it, but it may just take longer. They may have to be more patient and more resilient. And to that extent, my guidance to whoever I interact with in various institutes that I speak to, the placement committee and faculty and others, my only guidance is that let each one of the students be a placement committee member. Let each one drive and get companies to campus. Let it not be the responsibility of one faculty member or 5 students who are part of placement committee. Because if you join hands together, then at least you will make that process smoother. That's what I firmly believe.
Exactly, and this is something, Vikas, which again I would say, in my previous discussions with a few placement coordinators, the professors at various universities, I said, why to have a 5-man army when you have a bunch of soldiers who can start? I mean, the students should be empowered, and they should be. I mean, why they do not go is, they carry a kind of a mindset that how to begin the discussion with a corporate, how whom to talk to, whom to approach. But the way things are changing, why don't we empower the students also? And in the process, we have 100 people making, I mean, if each of them is making 10 attempts,
Exactly.
then the success or the hit rate will definitely increase.
Correct.
And in this process, the best part that would happen is the engagement between the campus and the corporates, and definitely that is the next step for the students. So why not allow them to go and start discussing? But one point that you mentioned, that the corporates are also refining their requirements or processes, and you mentioned a very nice point that the students need to be patient, and this is a very important point to whosoever is listening. It is not a question of a month or a 2 or a year.
Correct.
It is part of the journey. You might see that it seems like dark right now, but this is a phase of learning, patience, resilience. What other things would you advise to the students, Vikas, apart from, I mean, these are a soft skills that they should have, or
Correct.
few of them which I may add is the learning agility, or the risk appetite which should increase. So
Correct.
can you add a few more to this, for a better clarity for the students?
Sure. So I think you've hit the nail on the head, Purav. I think these are the kind of skills that I would also recommend to students. Apart from that, what I generally feel is that in times to come, what is eventually going to happen, I'm sure you also agree, that our careers will tend to be much shorter. We may end up doing, or the generation that's really entering workplace today will end up doing maybe 4 or 5 different careers of 5 years each, because technology and social dynamics are all changing at such a fast rate. So it will not be a situation of being married to one career or one organization, just like maybe many of us have been used to. For
Hmm.
example, if I take my own example of an HR professional, chances are that future generations may go through HR, sales, tech development, and God knows what else. So they've got to keep that learning agility in mind as well, ensuring that they're continuously upgrading themselves. The education does not stop once they pass out of their institute. Most of us, at least till at least 5 to 10 years ago, believed in that to a large extent, that you finish your engineering, you do your MBA, and that's it. You're made for life. You will work in a corporate space. The organization will take care of short-term trainings for you every now and then. Some will be in a conference room, some you will be sent to an offsite, and you will continue getting promoted, and you will continue uh, in that manner till you retire. It's no longer going to be the case. Even it's going to look more like, spending 4 or 5 years in a field, maybe going back to a business school, picking up another new discipline, then getting back into the workplace, and so on and so forth. So the other critical skill that I would share in this scenario is really about being able to look ahead and filter. and pick up whatever is important for you. Because again, so much of availability of options on the table today, thanks to the way our business landscape is evolving, you'll need to
Yes,
know what is it that you want to do.
exactly. I was coming to that. It's I mean it's easy to say that you should keep learning,
Hmm.
but with the platform, the learning platforms available, and most of them offering free courses. I
Yes.
don't know for what reason, but the mindset of getting a certificate, when I used to run a few programs,
Correct.
unfortunate part, and that is our culture, many students used to ask me, sir, certificate मिलेगा क्या?
Hmm.
So this mindset of certificates, and as you rightly mentioned that we were in a culture where we joined a company, and we retired from that company. And if I'm a mechanical engineer, so if I talk of the years when I graduated, I could only visualize companies that were engineering companies for a job. Why?
Right.
Because my certificates said that I am a mechanical engineer. But when I look back now, most of I mean this is my thing, but I'm sure this will be many of students can resonate that most of the decisions that I took till my graduation or even my post graduation were influenced by others. They were not my decisions. And when I got a certificate and I restrict myself to the certificates, then I am restricting my potential. Maybe I could do something else. So
Correct.
you very and this is now becoming a real scenario where people will have to keep learning. But the challenge is selecting from platforms like Coursera, Udemy, who are throwing courses. They are throwing courses, and the worst part is they are also giving a certificate. So many students are investing time. They think they are investing time, but at the end of the day, it's wasting of a few weeks or a few hours. So can you help them to kind of because you have been to HR, how can they select what courses to do or what could be a mechanism?
Sure. So, Purav, you're right when you say that everyone is chasing these certificates, and I've experienced it personally myself. I think it comes from a very social, mental makeup that all of us as Indians have had. Uh, it's always been about titles. It's always been about that paper to show as proof that yes, we know something. But reality is the world is moving far beyond. And today, if you look at hackathons, they're a very clear example of the ability to display your knowledge versus just showing a paper which says you have that knowledge. So students have to understand that that is what companies are already doing. This is the way recruitment will happen, and therefore they need to actually learn and pick up skills rather than just pick up those pieces of paper. And beyond feeling good about it personally, they will not add any value to you. I was really struck a few days ago when I saw the cook who comes to our house to make meals, watching video on some recipe on YouTube. Imagine a person who's actually not educated has understood that one can go to a platform, pick up the required knowledge, and convert that into a skill. So when you talk about Udemy and you talk about the other platforms that are Coursera and the likes, no doubt they're very good because the platforms are good and they have a huge variety of content. Much of it is free, but don't get caught into the trap of the free certification, because ultimately that free model is also a model to get you hooked to the platform so that you end up paying for something that is more valuable to the organization, to the provider. So you've got to put yourself in some sense into the minds of that cook or chef that I happen to see watching the video, and find out which is that uh, YouTube channel or that tutor or that platform which can add value to me. And if you're
Hmm.
able to do that, then I think you'll at least be on the right path. Now, what is the biggest distraction that comes when you get onto a online platform like this? During our time, if we had to do any research, learning, value addition, we had to head to the library. We had to go through books and figure out what to study. And obviously, due to limitation of library, limitation of our time, all of that, we could only end up picking up limited information.
Mhm.
Today we are getting blasted from all ends through over the top OTT, through mobile phone WhatsApp, through videos, through podcasts. So you've got to, like I said, have that filter, and you also have to stay clear of distraction, because that can really take away all your effort. And at the end of the day, you may have spent 10 hours online, but you realize that what you really added or value to yourself was only about 1 hour of that uh, time. So that's where I would advise students to be cautious.
Correct, correct. So if I quickly elaborate, I mean add on to this. Students should ask why you are taking up a course. It is not the certificate, not the what of it.
Correct.
And what I also realize is the old concept, the fear of missing out.
Correct.
Because if somebody posts his or her certificate on LinkedIn or Facebook,
Correct.
then looking at the certificate, many other students start following that. So what I would say is, please identify what you want to achieve. And while picking up any course, ask yourself, why are you investing 2 hours? Because time is very precious. So even if at the end of the day you get a free certificate, but you would have invested some time which you could have invested, maybe if you would have asked the why, then you could have picked up a better course. And
Right.
and the free courses, I mean, as you rightly said, they are getting you hooked to the platform, but you are wasting a lot of time in the free courses. So that is also something that the students should reconsider. Not only the students, Vikas, but for
All of us.
in fact people like us,
Exactly.
and even in the corporates, because now it's kind of a race to get certificates. And so while I talk to many people, they keep talking about data science and artificial intelligence and machine learning, and everybody wants to run after that.
Correct.
So one thing which I also realized, and I would like to have your opinion here, that when I ask the students that, okay, what is the pain or what is the challenge? So they are always eagerly waiting for things to normalize. They say, sir, once the pandemic is over and we start going back to the college, we can meet friends, we can exchange ideas physically, we can have more exposure, and we can talk to the professors, and we can get access to the labs. So they are eagerly waiting to get back to the normal. But then I think, and I have also shared with the students, that this is the biggest threat. If you wish to go back to the normal, then it is not a long term scenario. This is a time which has compelled us rather to learn new things or learn new ways. So I am not surprised if education becomes online permanently going forward, or if even most of the jobs will be like work from home. So I keep advising students, please take benefit of sitting at home and reaching internationally, reaching to everyone, because there are no limits now. So what's your thought on this?
Clearly, Purav, bang on. It is a new world. I don't think we'll go back to the old normal of
Mhm.
100% in class and 100% labs and so on. We have realized in the last 7-8 months that lot of progress and lot of work can happen remotely, and that is something that all the largest organizations have now factored in very clearly, that going forward there will be some form of a blended approach. Some may expect only 30% employees in the workplace, some may expect 70%, but it will depend on which industry and what business the particular organization is in. And again, if you look at the kind of change that has been accepted and driven, I think hats off to our academic community, because if you really think about it, at least the corporates had some level of base in remote delivery, and you also come from a large
Yes.
organization. These are not new technologies for most of us, but for the academic space, it was actually like reinventing the wheel. And right from the primary classes to the MBA programs, across the board, faculty members, the administration teams of campuses, the technology folks have managed to overcome it and do a fabulous job in keeping students engaged and uh, motivated going forward. In fact, today's newspaper, Times of India, that I was reading, talks about how the vaccine has been developed in a record time frame for COVID-19. We are all aware about that. And interestingly, in the byline, it also shares a very important point, and that is that the next time it will not take even this much time. So, what students need to keep in mind is that even this is possibly not the new normal, but
Hmm.
the ability to be agile when the situation changes, that is going to be the normal. We will never go back to what we were about 1 year ago. We may not remain what we are today in the month of December 2020, but what will remain is that we will need to keep making these little changes and adjustments as we move forward, making sure that, as I said earlier, we're adding value to ourselves. The education system is contributing what it is supposed to do. As students, we are absorbing what all we are meant to absorb from there and translate that into working for the corporates. And as far as corporates go, to a large extent, they have always been at the forefront of defining and creating new models of work. And I'm sure they'll continue to do that to make sure all of us are engaged and working collaboratively. So I think that is going to be a permanent change as far as our lives are concerned.
True, Vikas, true. I mean, as you rightly mentioned about the education, and I completely agree with you. They have taken the challenge head on. And
Right.
if I look at my son, who is 8 years old in standard three, and I see their teachers, because they are doing online classes, so I can listen to the teachers also, right? The patience that they have developed to interact with the students and to handle 30 students online, and students less than 8 years of age. I mean, the first grade, second grade. It is
Exactly.
indeed fantastic. It is fantastic. And in our times, we used to say the next generation. So when we say the next generation, it was a gap of 30 years. But now I say the next generation will be 2 years and 3 years when we'll have next generations. And this
Correct.
has started happening. So this is becoming a kind of a, there is nothing permanent. And when we used to tell change is a constant, but this change is happening every day.
True.
I mean, change also took some time earlier. But as you rightly mentioned, that this is something which will become permanent. And when we started, you said it is the tier one and tier two colleges are at least trying to, or the top institutes are at least getting back to track. But in India, we have more of the tier two and tier three colleges and students. If I talk of engineering or of MBAs or the even the medical students, I mean, so across. So what can they do to cope up in this scenario? Because the final year students who were in the final year when the pandemic started, and many of them are still out of jobs. The interviews got cancelled, or many of them even received the a confirmation, but then they are still extending the joining dates. So what would you advise to them?
Sure. So, Purav, I think the withdrawal of the offers made, if in my personal opinion, is honestly the last option that any organization should have gone for. Once an offer has been made, it should be honored. That's the least a young budding professional accepts or expects. And what they could have done in such a scenario is look at maybe deferment of jobs or internships, converting them into a part-time model. Maybe financial was a issue, financial angle was an issue. They could have had a transparent conversation with those people and looked at seeing whether they could have done that internship without a stipend. uh, some of the on-job internships could have been converted into projects, remote projects. So there are a lot of options if you really think about it, in a approach that wants to solve and ensure that students careers or lives are not affected. But having said that, if that has happened and people have gone through that negative experience, I only say that in a career which is about 30, 40, 50 years, a year here or there really doesn't make that much of a difference. I'm sure you would also agree, having worked for so many years in the corporate. Sometimes we get attached to that one promotion which we are really gunning for. We've had a great year and we feel that इस बार तो हो ही जाएगा, and unfortunately it doesn't happen, and then we are shattered. But we are shattered for 1 or 2 weeks at best, and then we realize 5 years later we even forget about that particular year, because in the longer scheme of things it doesn't matter. So that's what I guide students today. Luckily, thanks to the tech revolution, thanks to measures like, let's say, Startup India, there is so much of encouragement of entrepreneurship, building something from scratch. And I just get amazed when I get onto a platform like LinkedIn and I see some of these young budding students who have not even started their first job, are actually in a sense influencing, are building huge network communities, are contributing. And it is their passion which is keeping them going. It's not that right now they are making great revenue, or making their like they say, the fires in the house. But what they're doing is they're building a great base of real life learning, which I'm sure they will monetize at some point, if not the next 1 year, definitely in the next 2 to 3 years. So there are a lot of other ways to kind of overcome a missed internship or a missed campus placement. It's just about uh, going in every day with a positive frame of mind and continuing to work towards your longer term goals. That's what I would share.
True, because I can just take the most important thing out of it. It's a question of next 30 or 40 years. How will 1 year make a huge difference? It will make a difference if you want it to make a difference. Actually, you can convert this into a better opportunity with the learnings and the platforms. And you rightly mentioned, sometimes I feel shy with the students getting popular on these platforms. So like they should be our mentors, to work on the
Exactly.
social media, because they are actually making a difference. They are making a difference. And it's not about monetizing. I mean, you rightly said, maybe not immediately, but in a couple of years, this is their social assets. They are creating their social assets, and it would be, I'm sure, the world is moving towards these assets. And
Correct.
in addition to the assets, they are networking. They are spreading themselves across the world, their visibility. So I a few days back, I read a book, and it said that there was a statement or a quote in the book. It's not about talent. It's not everything about talent. It's a lack of visibility that is not allowing you to progress.
Correct.
So start becoming visible, and the platforms are giving a wonderful opportunity. And still, I would say they have not reached the saturation. But in next 1 or 2 years, not even 2 years, in next 1 year, there would be a saturation even on these platforms. So the earlier you start, the better. What
Exactly.
again? Patience, and what Vikas said. If you are impatient on these platforms, networking is not you start today and you get results the next month. It has to be consistent approach, and you have to be patient. So one thing which I could recall, and please, whosoever is listening, the changes will be permanent. Please don't wait to get back to the routine. The new normal is indeed a new normal. So the next normal will be the new normal. It won't be the previous normal again. So start learning, and even if your job offers are not being entertained by the corporates, and Vikas said this would be the last thing that a corporate would do. And trust me, the situation in some industries is bad. So we should not even blame the corporates because they are struggling. Many of them have started reducing the headcounts, and definitely they would not recruit new people. But this doesn't mean that you should just keep sitting on the offer that still has not converted. Start learning, start adding more and more value to yourself, start networking, start creating your social assets. Wasting 1 year is good enough. It's in a span of 30-40 years. Who cares? But this 1 year can make a difference. So because I think a lot of good things. And I also understand you are on the BRICS CCI, so you would also have got some things from the global community, that what's happening elsewhere. Because in my life, or in everybody's life, this is a scenario which is common across the globe, across the earth. So when I start, since last 6 months, whenever we have our office meetings, where we have people from across Asia and Europe and US, for the first 10 minutes the discussion is, how is the lockdown? Hope everybody is safe. So this
Right.
is for the first time I have come across in my life a situation which is similar. So what is your view on what's happening outside India?
So, Puro, outside India, just like you rightly said, everyone is in the same boat for the first time, possibly globally. And everyone's become more and more cautious. Everyone's becoming more and more empathetic. Uh, I can generally sense that. There is a whole change in mindset in terms of whether the so-called capitalist lives we have been leading, the rush up the corporate ladder, buying one house after another, buying the fanciest cars, is people have started questioning some of these fundamentals that many of us actually grew up as seeing as signs of success. Today, unfortunately, it took a pandemic for us to understand this. But just knowing that everyone in your family, in your friend circle is safe is the biggest luxury. And in a very cautious, calibrated manner, people are now beginning to step out, maybe travel a bit as well. There is obviously a lot of fatigue that has come in after being confined for so many months. Increasingly, a lot of people are looking towards youngsters to try and give them these messages maybe early in life, so that the Gen Z, as we call it, to a large extent, they've always believed in looking at the longer term picture, asking organizations, what value am I adding? So, this is possibly the right time for them to be now given the formal stage and said and told that yes, our organization is willing to change and adopt these values which are important for you. So we will
Hmm.
be concerned about you as employees. We will look at your work life balance, your mental, physical well being, and we will be a great place to work, not only for in namesake, but in the real sense. So that's how I think the situation is evolving globally.
Correct, correct. It's more about people. I mean, as you rightly said, maybe for many organizations it was on paper that we care, but now it has with this pandemic and operating remotely, it has become all the more important. And though fortunately I am from an organization which has always been employee friendly, but they have taken extra measures, and the frequency of the management, of the senior management talking to the employees at the lowest level has gone up.
Correct.
They are always trying to ensure that nobody is in a undue unnecessary pressure because of this new normal, and coming out of the mindset that we used to be sitting in front of our boss, and time was the measurement of performance and not the real performance.
Exactly.
And now, because we are not sitting in front of each other, things are changing. So I mean, I see a huge change across. Because we have a question from one of our students, and it's about the government jobs and the private jobs. It says that there is a craze for government jobs, even though the private jobs are paying high on paper. So the CTCs look very high, but the in hand is something which is not in proportion to the CTCs.
So there is no straightforward answer to this question, Sai. The attraction of a government job, if you look at it traditionally, has been because it's been considered more secure and more longer term. One of the reason I think students or professionals are gravitating towards government jobs is the fact that yes, in today's times, in the private sector, given how volatile it is, chances of getting laid off or a salary cut is possibly higher. But the flip side is also true that a lot of ways government bodies have now evolved, the approach has evolved, and many high ranking corporate professionals have actually chosen to go back into government sector, either as consultants or in special capacities, because the government sector does allow you to make real change. And in cases where there is a very strong agenda to actually transform the country, then we know of people like Nandan Lilikeni and others who have actually chosen to go there, contribute towards the nation building, and that's another attraction trigger for a lot of young people who are not just content with that salary figure which comes at the end of the month in the bank account, but more about actually contributing to the society. So the reasons are many, but it all depends on what at the end of the day is a particular professional's objective. I hope that answers.
yes, Vikas, and let me also add, students or friends, at the end of the day, trust me, salary doesn't matter. Because if salary was something which is of concern, then you have many options to quit, switch over, and start something on your own. It is not that we don't need money, we need money. But if you make that the priority, you won't be happy wherever you work, even if you work for yourself. If you make money a priority, it might not let you sleep well. So an increment, if I talk of myself, right, we work for the increments at the end of the year. But the day we get an increment, even if it is beyond expectation, which is very rare scenario, but even if at times it is beyond expectation, it's a matter of a week or two that we are happy. Else we are in the same boat again. That now it's the next year and we have to start from scratch. So if it's all about money, then you are definitely in the rat race. So rather than think of the bigger picture, as Vikas said, and I have seen many of the government institutes or the PSUs are working for the betterment of the country and for a larger population. So that is also a reason why people are getting attracted to those jobs. And if it is about security, trust me, it is the same security in the government jobs as in the private. If you do not perform, you do not grow.
Correct.
Maybe they might not throw you out, but at least you become stagnant. So, because it was really wonderful talking to you, and I see a lot of other things. Okay, so mm, we have one more question, because if you are still okay to take it.
Yeah, sure, of course.
There is an increased importance of mental health. That is what we talked. Do you think it should be a topic for school students as well? And it should be a topic taken by the corporates for the students?
Most definitely, Akash. I think you asked this question, brilliant question, and I think uh, I would 100% be advocating for mental health to be discussed. Unfortunately, in our country, it has always been brushed under the carpet. But if you look at wellness, apart from maybe physical wellness, we really don't talk about wellness too much. And I don't know if you're aware of this fact, but there are about 8 dimensions to wellness. So, physical wellness is just one part of it. There is mental wellness, there is a financial wellness, and so on. And the earlier in life that we understand each one of these dimensions, and we are handholded and supported in these dimensions, I think navigating life just becomes much more easy. Unfortunately, we tend to focus a lot more on learning the theorems and mugging up tables, while actually we should be looking at these other dimensions. And if nothing else, I think the last 7-8 months have actually shown us a mirror and showed us how important these are. It has been
Yes.
a challenging time for many people, and I have seen cases in my own personal network. I have seen in my professional circles, and I think a lot of people have actually managed to overcome the challenges only because either they were mentally strong to begin with, or B, they had the support of others around them to help them through that. So this topic, reiterating once again, should really be upfront in not only schools but throughout our journey.
Thank you so much, Akash. It's really important. And when I start my sessions today with the students, I always used to put a slide wherein I show that we always ensure that our laptops are charged, our mobile phones are charged, our tablets are charged, because we need them. But do we keep our body charged? Because at the end of the day, it is the body which will support us. and
Correct.
and why do we not keep our body charged, or why do we ignore it? We do not realize the damage, or the damage is not visible. If I look at my phone battery, I realize it is in the red, so I need to charge it,
Hmm.
and it happens every day. But if my eyes are getting damaged, I will not realize it right now.
Correct.
But the day I realize it, the it won't be reversible. It would be a
True.
permanent damage. So can we take Vikas, one more question?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, sir. Since we are in a paradigm shift and adapting the phase of the new normal, my question is: who is willing to make their careers in the HR? HR is also combating. HR is combating COVID-19. How
So,
HR is combating? How HR is combating COVID-19? Yeah,
comment.
wonderful question. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Vivek, for the HR fraternity, COVID-19 has proved to be a huge challenge, but also at the same time a blessing in disguise. The reason I'm saying that is, uh, if for the previous few years or decades, people ever questioned the value of HR and what HR managers were doing, or saying that HR is a simple job, 9 to 6 kind of arrangement, all those myths have been clearly busted, and HR has got some newfound respect in the corporate world. I'll tell you why this is so, in very straightforward, simple terms. Moment the COVID-19 pandemic broke out and the lockdown kind of scenarios were implemented across the globe, uh, all the senior leadership of the organization, right from the CEO, were reaching out to HR heads for guidance. How do we shut down the office? How do we make sure people continue to work from home? How do we make sure that people are engaged at home? How do we make sure that they are not doing any malpractices because now the computer or the laptop is with them at their home? All the company files are available with them. So HR has had to take a lot of steps, not only from safeguarding the employees or the organization, but also is playing a critical role in laying down new age processes for what some time ago Pura was also talking about, the future of work, the new normal, whether it will be work from home or from office and so on. So HR is now looking at the entire redesign of our workplace and our work processes, and in specific in terms of whether wherever those offices are operational or factories are operational, of course it rests on HR shoulders to ensure that all those safety norms which are advised by the health bodies, by the governmental bodies, are adhered to, and employees are kept safe, and also their mental well-being, bringing in the question that was asked us prior to this, is also top of their radar. So I in fact wrote a blog on this for a Middle East magazine. You can probably find it online, which I called HR is the first responder. So just like in the real world, we had the police, we had the hospital or the health authorities, who are called the first responders. In the corporate world, this role was played by the HR folks. They took charge of how this whole scenario has to be handled.
Wonderful. Thanks, because I mean this is an HR. I realize they have they have been important always, but the recognition, the visibility, and the kind of a positioning or the mindset people had about HR
Mm,
has changed completely,
correct.
and they have become rather more active in the day to day activities by running campaigns, by taking feedback more frequently. And also I realized they have started organizing engaging sessions for the families as well,
Mm,
because of late they realized that working from home looked like a luxury to the employees initially,
mm,
but now they have started realizing that it is disturbing the personal life of the employees, because you are no longer able to keep the office and the home separate, which people used to always tell that as you leave the office, keep everything in the office mentally.
correct.
And this is no more possible. So what I see is the HRs have also started organizing celebrations where they involve the entire families of employees.
True.
So that is also making a difference, and the way they give recognition to the employees, they make their family also feel that they also care. So many things are changing, knowingly or unknowingly. People are changing,
True.
and this disruption has compelled everybody to change. So now it's not like you have to change with time. It's like if you want to survive, you have to change.
Of course.
Else survival has become a challenge. Wonderful. Because we have, I don't see any more questions, but if you allow me, I'll summarize uh, uh, quickly
Sure.
a few important points for the students. Students, so have patience. You have to have agility. And what do you mean by agility? Please keep monitoring the changes around, and change your plans accordingly. You cannot plan for next 1 year, so stop planning for a year or two. Plan for the next week and the next months. and keep changing the plans as you see the changes happening around. Be resilient, and it's in a span of 30-40 years, your upcoming career. This 1 year will be forgotten soon. Now you can make this memorable, or you can make this a kind of a something you wish to forget. So try to make it more memorable by learning new things. Let the offer letter be in the cupboard unless you get a call from the HR of the company. Don't worry about it. Uh, Start creating your social assets and wisely utilize the learning platforms. Ask yourself, why do you want to? As Vikas said, what is the next skill that will help you to take the next step? And is that particular training adding value to you, to yourself to take the next step? Uh, Last question, Vikas. The students are actually now getting more engaging, and that is what I have always observed. Go ahead, Sai, with your question.
Sir, my question is nowadays, many students of age they prefer like I can only be successful if I go in this route or if I choose this path. Otherwise, there are no other ways which I can be successful due to the insecurities which are present in them. So, what advice would you like to give to them who has such insecurities and how to come out of them?
See, Sai, great question. And I think what any one of us, I'm sure Pura would also advise is start from asking yourself what is that truly excites you. Because often I think as students, we tend to get carried away by what we see happening in the batch or in our seniors who passed out and get attracted to the larger brands, to the hot sectors, and we get somewhere carried away in that zone, but we lose connect with really what is our core strength, our expertise, the activities that make us happy. And if the earlier you get aligned to those, I think it is much more fulfilling in the long run. You can get lined into any track, and all of us are, I'm sure with the academic background and the understanding and the education that we have, will be able to make ourselves relatively successful in any sphere. But to truly make yourself super successful, and when I say successful, is not just, I'm talking not just money or fame or whatever, but holistically successful. I think if you're aligned to what is it that makes you happy, I think that is the best thing that you can do. And for that, I would recommend you read a book called Ikigai, uh, Ikigai. I think you can easily get it. It'll just open your mind up to what I'm trying to share with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Ikigai,
Vikas.
I will definitely explore the book.
Yes,
Good to hear, man.
just get hold on to it. So it's less than what you spend in a hotel for a dinner. You know. So don't try to check the review and then purchase it. Just go ahead. It's a nice one. And this is also something which I keep telling my students. I was so late in starting reading books or reading something in addition to my textbooks, but that was something that really helped me. So for all my students, right, whosoever is listening, please read something, not your textbooks, apart from your textbooks. Textbooks are necessary but not sufficient. So
Correct.
good, good, Vikas. So wonderful it was with you, and I am sure that whatever you shared is of help and will help the students. And this is a very important topic nowadays. So we need to keep on re-emphasizing on whatever you said. And we would also like to have you again, Vikas, with all your knowledge. And I know 1 hour is too less to share everything that you have experienced and that you wanted to share with the students. So thank you so much, Vikas. Thanks for
Pleasure.
being with Mission 10 million. And yes,
Thank you for
bye
having
bye.
me, Pura. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you so much.
Thanks to Rag and Sai also for the support.
Yes, the team.
Yeah.
Good. They are the pillars, you know. They are our pillars. So Rag, we can end this now, the live session. Thanks, Rag.